We came so far from dreams. The path was hard for me. They thought we fall, you see. Well, look at us now, look at us now. We make it hot when we on the scene. Yeah, that's 1,000 degrees. I got a grind for me and my team. Yeah, you know we gon' eat. You see the crowds when we come around. You know that I roll with some kings. You shit it down, I don't hear a sound, but I ask you who better than we. Tell me who better than we. We soaring to places you never could reach. When we walk in that spot, don't hear none of you speak. Shh, do you want peace or the peace? A king about to put you to sleep. Listen, my team is elite. You not even qualified to compete. He starving, he barely can eat. I guess that's why he always itching for beef. So I put him on ice and I told him to chill. Close your mouth if you can't pay for the meal. Making statements that you know you don't mean. Nice guy trying to act like he mean. Keep it a buck, keep it a bean. Attitudes will put you dudes in the beam. Izuku, he don't live in reality. Shake back off, become a fatality. Yeah, how you gon' hate when you mirror us? He think he a star, he ain't serious. X him out, we not on the same frequency. If you broke, you ain't hearing us. Work the screw, anime, that's how I feel, period. We winning, that's making them furious. We make it high when we on the scene, yeah, that's 1,000 degrees. I got a grind for me and my team, yeah, you know we gon' eat. You see the crowds when we come around, you know that I roll with some kings. You sit it down, I don't hear a sound, but I ask you who better than we.
Yo, what it do, guys? It is your boy, Leon Mookie here, back for you with another new part of What If Izuku Had a Chaotic Quirk? This is part 2, and in the last part, Izuku's life is basically the same as always. However, the only difference is, in this timeline, the card game known as Chaotic is basically spread worldwide, as Izuku basically became a huge fan of Chaotic, devoting half of his life to, well, studying pro heroes, hoping that learning about that of their abilities and skills could give him the edge, while also playing Chaotic, basically opening a new door of community and fans. However, it didn't just open one door, it opened a huge world of possibilities. As he gains notoriety online, he soon got his Chaotic code and was soon sent to Chaotic itself, a place where Chaotic players can basically become the creatures of their cards. However, he didn't win his first, his first match though. Given that, again, Izuku at this time still has no self-confidence in himself when it comes to fighting or standing up for himself, as his match was against that of one of the main antagonists of Chaotic, Crystella, and she basically beat the living breaks off of Izuku. However, this wasn't a total loss, as not only he goes to Chaotic, his quirk finally shows itself, as his quirk allows him to actually transform into creatures outside of Chaotic, as this was his beginning on how he became the hero he always dreamt of being. So, with all that said, let's get into this, shall we, guys? It's been at least that of a year since he gained that of the Chaotic code, and has gained that of his quirk too. Speaking of his quirk, Izuku had to go to that of the quirk doctor once again to see about it and explain and show what happened, especially alongside his mom, as she was also worried after all. He shows on what he was done, as the first time he tried Alfrere, the crown prince of the Merillians. But this time, when he decided to show it, he decided to become Zerv, basically a tall, lanky, and blue-skinned man with tribal tattoos, with that of, long white hair and pink pants, leaving both his mother Inko and the quirk doctor completely dumbfounded, with the man actually is quite confused about this. He's never seen a transformation quirk that needed a catalyst, which somewhat makes it that of an emitter type quirk too as well, with Izuku having to show off what he's capable of in that of demonstrations, with Zerv remembering that Zerv elemental ability is that of wind. However, he can also use that of generic, attacks as well. Plus, he's one of the fastest creatures among that of the overworlders as well, just like that of Gespidin, showing off Zerv's impressive speed and agility quite easily. as it's quite differently from the first time he became a creature when he was Tenget Toborn back in Chaotic. Not only that, he had to show off that Observe's powers, or rather his attacks, after all, which he showed off at least a little bit by sending that of a tornado tackle. Basically what as the name says, a tornado that basically slams into that of an opponent, as it destroys the dummy that, Izuku had to hit, with basically completely eviscerated, actually, showing that Izuku needs to hold back a little bit on certain attacks after all. With then sending another wind attack from that Observe, as being that of a wind slash, throwing his arms out with sending that of a bladed wind strike towards the dummy, as it soon basically just cut in two, actually, horizontally. That's when the Quirk doctors and analysts wants to see Izuku become another creature instead, where this time Izuku decided to become that of a Damien, wanting to know what it feels like to be a, insect-like creature after all, as he becomes Kelverden, a, insect-like, humanoid with that of, red exoskeleton armor, two large wings, insect-like wings, and that of a, flesh, and that of big green eyes with pincers over his mouth. With Izuku basically being that of the Damien-like creature, realizing he has more legs after all, which is becoming hard for him to steady himself a little bit. But he's slowly starting to get the hang of it. Just needed to think right foot, left foot multiple times though. And same with that of left foot, right foot too. With even showing off more and more of, his creatures from Overworlders, Merillians, and Underworlders as well. With that of their own unique abilities and attacks, showing that his quirk should be called, just as the namesake, Chaotic. With now having his quirk, Izuku's personality somewhat changes a bit. He's still a little bit nervous and shy, but he's a lot more confident in himself. At least a little bit more, positive in himself too. Because of this, it leads to that of Izuku and during his time at Aldera to change a bit, with Izuku showing off a bit of his new chaotic quirk. With everybody in his homeroom class basically is quite impressed with that of Izuku's quirk, with some people in that of Aldera actually playing chaotic too, even though unlike that of high privilege schools, Aldera is still basically a boring run-of-the-mill prep school that you can find anywhere in Japan. It doesn't even have that much of a budget, to be fair, so they wouldn't have that of the money to basically make a chaotic club. And would even see it as a waste of money, given that chaotic is still not as popular as it should be though. But even so, those who did play chaotic and those who basically looked down on Izuku because he didn't have a quirk and didn't want to play with him actually now want to, more than anything. As for Bakugo, this is still Bakugo after all. He and his, inferiority complex and not being the center of attention always ends up being will always be a big ass problem early on after all. He still tries to belittle and look down on Izuku after all, even saying that Izuku is looking down on him now that he has his quirk after all, or has been hiding it all this time. But for Izuku, he doesn't care anymore. He now has his quirk and he's now able to stand up. He's now able to achieve his goal of being a hero now. Not only that, he has chaotic as well. Given these past couple of months, basically a year, Izuku has improved himself quite a bit in chaotic. Not only because of his quirk allowing him to become creatures, getting a better feel of them after all, which means his abilities as a creature in the battle drones, on the other hand, is going to be completely different. For example, his second battle drone match went a little bit differently. He basically fought against that of a player by the name of Slick Nick, huge fan of overworlders, not despises basically the other, well, tribes after all. And given that Izuku is a mixed player, let's just say Izuku was already on the top of his shit list. But given that his matches with that of a 6-on-6 match, and he was able to employ that of his best strategies, mainly using that of Avena and Navena, he was able to win pretty easily. Let's just say he does get a little bit embarrassed when he does become that of, well, female creatures on the other hand, in the first half, but over time, he got used to it. To see it as basically himself, just with that of, well, a female anatomy. Nothing more, nothing less. After that, he basically improved himself. Hell, craziest thing is, when he goes into Param, unlike that of a lot of chaotic players who cause quite a bit of trouble, who only basically want to get a scan of a creature and then pour it out, when he does hang around with Tom and his friends a few times, who basically gets involved with a few creatures if it means helping them out or not wanting to cause them any trouble, Izuku basically goes way beyond that of wanting to help. Like, he basically helps any kind of creature, even if it's a creature that's not even a fighter, actually. He's always willing to give a helping hand. And one creature he would end up becoming close friends with, or at least close acquaintances at best. When heading to the Merillian Oasis, a suggestion by that of Peyton after all, to basically build up his Merillian tribe decks, especially with that of new Merillians after all. Let's just say Izuku was not a big fan of basically traversing the desert, but even so, he pushed through and kept on going. On the way there, he was about to reach, however, he was soon surrounded by that of tons of Merillian guards, as they all have that of pyro blasters pointing straight at him, with him screaming, I'm sorry, I just wanted to come to the Merillian Oasis, I didn't mean to. A chaotic player. Normally we allow you if you so-called appear in, but if you come through the Merillian Oasis through the desert, within one guard saying, you must gain that of permission from a Merillian themselves. Within hearing this, Izuku couldn't help but basically sigh, saying, seriously? Thanks for not telling me this, Peyton. With then one of them say, move along until you can get permission. Do not return to that of the Oasis. Within, soon they disappear again, as Izuku soon basically huffs. However, as soon as he was about to pour it out, he soon noticed somebody else. He notices that of a creature, and that of a cloak, looking around to make sure nobody notices him before he runs off into that of the desert. As Izuku is quite curious, but for some reason he couldn't help but basically chase after them, wondering why, as he follows after that of the creature. He soon, as traveling through that of the desert, soon the creature notices this, before then disappearing like a Merillian. Izuku realized, wait, did he just? Before reappearing behind him and kicking Izuku in the back. Before Izuku could wonder what happened, he soon at that of blade point. Before noticing that of a white scaled hand, Izuku realized, wait, that scaled hand, is it within the person removing the cloak being Crown Prince Elfrer, saying, may I ask why is a chaotic player chasing after me, and I made sure that nobody can notice me. With Izuku completely shocked, saying, Crown Prince Elfrer, it's truly an honor to meet you, sir. I have your card. I have a card of you, and why are you following me? Izuku basically frantically waving his arms around, saying, I'm sorry, I was just curious, that's all. I was trying to come to the Merillian Oasis, but I was turned away by the guards, and figures as much. You chaotic players always end up becoming more of a nuisance than anything. Ironically, there's one chaotic player that a lot of Merillians end up respecting quite a bit, though. Saying, that would be Peyton, actually. saying, yes, that human's name. Before sheathing the blade and grabbing that of his cloak, saying, go where you wish, chaotic player. I have more pressing matters. If you don't mind, if I can follow after, if I could come after you? Within saying, pardon, saying, I'm curious. I'm trying to gain that of new location scans, so I figured within saying, follow after me to see if you can gain a new location to use in that of your chaotic game. Very well, but do not tell anyone about this. Not even the royal guards know about this location. I even want to keep this secret from my father. So, as I say, keep quiet. But then Izuku nodding over and over. Before then, as Alfred leads Izuku to that of a ancient pillar-like location where tons of the pillars almost look like that in the formation of a ring, with Izuku completely shocked, scanning the location, before then noticing that of a creature in the distance as well. But then Alfred begins to go to that of one knee, lowering his head, saying, Master, I have come for our lesson for today. When seeing that of a Merillian sitting on the ground, wearing that of red pants, and one shoulder armor, and that of long green hair, with him having his having his hands together, and that of an O shape, with it as his eyes are closed, saying, so you have come right on time, my disciple. However, you are at least that of a good 30 seconds late. May I ask why? Within, soon hearing this, he frets, saying, apologies, my master. It's just that this chaotic player followed after me, and I wanted to, saying, a chaotic player, you say? Within him standing up, looking back as seeing his appearance even more as it's quite muscular, within looking at that of Izuku, saying, as Izuku gets a little bit nervous being looked at by that of the man, within saying, it's a pleasure to meet. I have never seen a chaotic player up close before. Only a few times I've seen them at least take that of some kind of scanning noise. It's not dangerous or lethal, so I leave them be. But now, meeting you for the first time, meeting one of these chaotic players for the first time, who are you? With Izuku gulping, saying, yes, sir. My name is Izuku Midoriya, sir. It's a pleasure to meet you. And with it saying, the pleasure's mine, young man. My name is Hajung, but the rest of the Merillian tribe and even those from other tribes know me as Headmaster Hajung, seeker of the arts, mainly the martial arts. Within hearing that saying, martial arts? Yes. I have been the tutor and trainer of the Crown Prince, and that's the way of fighting for years now. Within him couldn't help but jab at that of his disciple, saying, a frail and scrawny Merillian creature like him cannot take the throne if he cannot defend himself. Within, the prince saying, Master, please. Izuku is quite shocked that the crown prince is being heckled on by that of another Merillian. Within, saying, so, I can't believe it. If you don't mind, if you wish to take a scan of me, do so if you wish, saying, thank you. Before he begins to scan that of Alkir, Izuku looking at his stats saying, whoa, he's really strong, like beyond strong. With then saying, Alfred, it's time to train, saying, yes, master, of course. As he derobes in that of his royal attire, but then soon, both of them are in that of the ring. After that, the two begin to spar with one another, sending as Alfred sends that of a quick jab. Before then, Alkir basically dodges out of the way effortlessly. Before then, sending that of his own jab. Alfred dodges before then, sending that of a high kick. Before then, bringing it down, creating that of a pretty small crater into that of the ring. Before then, they continue to basically trade blows from punch to kicks. But Izuku couldn't help but basically be at awe at all of this, seeing on how creatures fighting. But instead of it being a merciless battle like how he does in that of the battle drones, it's kind of a battle between that of master and student. With Izuku basically feeling like if he learned some of this, maybe he could use it to improve his fighting style when he becomes a pro hero. With then, soon, the man saying, "Are you interested in learning, young man?" With then, Izuku basically flustered, seeing on how quick the guy basically came to him. With then, Alfred basically rolling his eyes at within Izuku saying, "Well, you see, I don't want to intrude," saying, "Nonsense. I am free to take in that of all those who are willing to learn the ways of the fist. And training a non-Merillian creature may be interesting, I must say." Within Izuku getting flustered, but also somewhat excited as well. During this time, Izuku began to learn the ways of the Merillian martial arts. At first, he could not get it quite easily. Hell, if anything, he barely got anything at all, given that, again, most of the fighting styles were made for Merillian physiology. But over time, while basically taking on that of taking on chaotic matches, while also exploring Param, also making that of quite a bit of friends with other creatures as well. When training with Alkir, it's almost like he learned that of a teacher that actually bothered caring about him and teaching him and actually helping him improve more than just coasting off that of his quirk after all, like how they did with that of Bakugo and now doing with him back at Aldera. As for Alfred, well, honestly, at first the Crown Prince did not like Izuku, like far from it than anything, but over time, he saw him as a fellow student and at least a decent enough friend / acquaintance as well. And like I said before, he would also became close with that of other creatures as well. Like for example, he wanted to explore that of the underworld city actually, wanting to gain that of more new locations after all. However, it looks like there was a commotion going on as looking around and noticing over the side that there were basically two overworlders into that of the underworld city, as one of them being that of a black, leopard-like creature known as Alley Cat, and the other overworlder looking like that of a man-goat hybrid with that of sharp teeth that would basically give Melina a run for her money, with long, brown brunette hair, as this being Heftin, as the two are basically dodging attacks from that of a underworld creature, as they are wearing that of orange robes, having that of 4 arms, a double spiked forehead, and having that of a brunette ponytail with that of deep green emerald eyes, chucking fireballs at that of the two overworlders, with it saying, "Return the music you have stolen, overworlders!" before sending that of a torrent of flames towards that of the overworlders. Within, Heftin couldn't help but basically chuckle, saying, "Ha ha! It's not like you underworlders are going to be using it after all. You all don't even have the brains to use music properly or understand it." Within, Alley Cat basically growling at his accomplice, saying, "Shut up and keep running. Stop taunting them." As the two creatures continue running, within, Izuku realized that he can't just sit back and do nothing. Within, looking around, as for some reason, he notices that of a crate of barrels on the other side. Before any of them notice, he soon goes over to that side before then begin pushing that of the barrels. Before, as they soon begin to fall, that's when both Alley Cat and Heftin basically jump out of the way. However, Hefton basically drops that of what he was carrying, being that of a bag full of musics, mainly that of generic music and underworld music. Before realizing, ah, damn it, I dropped them, with Alley Cat saying, ignore them, come on. Before being hit, as Alley Cat was soon hit with that of a rust toxin, basically freezing him in place, as Hefton looks completely shocked about his partner in crime, basically being frozen before then dropping that of the other bag filled with that of Mujix. As Copan finally catches up with them saying, thank you for returning my Mujix. I well appreciate it. Seeing the taunt, Hefton wanting to fight, but then realizing that the Overworld Guard are going to be showing up anytime soon, before then grabbing his ally before the rust toxin wears off, and then heads out of the Underworld City as fast as he can. Copan heads to that of where that of the barrels fell, within realizing, you can come out now, human. Within hearing that, Izuku basically gets out of his hiding spot, a little bit nervous, saying, I can tell you're the one that helped me gain back my Mujix. For that, I thank you, young one. Within, he's saying, I'm glad I could help. Even though I know that the tribes are basically at war with one another, and stealing that of another tribe's music is kind of unforgivable, to be honest. With then hearing this, as that of the, somewhat Asian-inspired underworld creature couldn't help but basically laugh himself, saying, I always say the same. Music should be left to that of the creature, to that of one creature's. Other tribes shouldn't get involved with that of the development and the stealing of other tribes' music. But of course, only warriors and generals and those within that of the tribe's militaries only see music as nothing but tools. Within saying, look at me prattle on like an old man. You probably do not wish for me to basically rant. Within, he's saying, no, it's okay. Honestly, you kind of have the right to rant if you need to. Within, saying, you are a little different than the other humans I've encountered here in the Underworld City. Come with me, young one. Within, hearing this, he's to say, you trust me, you will not get in trouble. Hearing that, Izuku decides to follow that of the Underworld Muge. Within, heading to that of his place, known as Kepon's Tower, with Izuku basically scanning the place. Quite amazing, actually. Seeing music all across, one of a kind, even music from other tribes. But Izuku saying, wow, so much music. Within saying, I understand and try to follow as much music as I can, especially on what the music does. As soon as we are finished mining music from the mines, I do my best to understand it as much as I can before we distribute the music across that of the underworld. Even if we find out of other tribe musics as well, I always make sure to send them to their self-respected tribes. Within hearing that, Izuku couldn't help but be shocked, saying, but why? Wouldn't you be giving that of your enemies an, favorable advantage? Within, Capon saying, that's the thing. High mujiks such as myself see the value in all mujiks. We shouldn't hoard the mujiks that aren't made for us to ourselves, just so our enemies don't get an unfair advantage. Mujiks are basically the symbols of our culture. Time long gone, those who developed them either did it for one reason, for battle, conflict, understanding, or to better their tribes. Why should we have the right to basically keep the musics that aren't ours? To begin with, within hearing that, Izuku saying, wow, you're so unique from the other, underworlders that I've encountered after all. Some are honorable and just, but then there are some who just see music as tools or anyone else as nothing but tools and don't even care at all as long as it gets in their way. Exactly. It's the way of the underworld. Luckily, thanks to Kaor, my former student, defeating Lord Von Vloot, and now has full control over the underworld now. The underworld is becoming at least a lot more respectful after all, especially developing that of the new system of any discrepancies or arguments that creatures have among themselves must be done in the underworld coliseum. It's a lot more lawful, but it still basically depends on that of our hatred for that of one another, our warrior-like mentality after all. It's a good outlet, but I truly wish that it would change. Within, Izuku saying, do you want Underworlders to be more like Overworlders or Mepedians? Within, hearing this, Kapan saying, you are a funny one. No, I refuse to allow that of my fellow tribesmen to be like that of another tribe. All I wish is a way for us to change in that of a way where violence isn't always the first answer. That is all. Within, hearing that, Izuku couldn't help but sigh, saying, well, why not try? After all, KR is your old disciple. It's best to do what you can to help out while you can. Within hearing this, Kapan saying, I wish it was true, but for now, all I can do is basically understand and decipher musics. There is not as many muges here in the underworld as is, so I must do my job diligently. Within, thinking, how about this, young man? Within, Izuku looking at that of Gopan with that of curiousness, saying, I hear you chaotic players scan musics and use them for that of your chaotic game. Is that not right? Within, Izuku saying, yes, actually. Within, thinking, wait, are you saying yes? I would want you to test out that of new musics that I am unable to understand and use them in that of your chaotic game. Within hearing that, Izuku shocked, saying, wait, you want me to use the unstable and untested musics in my chaotic game? Within realizing, oh, actually, I don't even need to use them in my chaotic game. We have a place that we can actually test out and basically practice before using that of using them. Within hearing this, saying, even better. I must ask, what is your name, young one? Within, Izuku realizing, oh, I guess I know your name, but you don't know mine. My name is Izuku Midoriya. Within, soon hearing that, saying, young Izuku, as payment for taking on this task, I will allow you to scan me. But anytime that you come into the Underworld City, and I have that of a new music to understand that I cannot understand, or even my colleagues, will you please scan it and test it into that of chaotic, and tell me the effects of the music? Within hearing this, saying, of course, I'll do what I can, sir. Within hearing that, he couldn't help Kapan saying, thank you, young man, before putting his hands in his robe sleeves, before bowing his head, with Izuku doing the same. Since then, Izuku has basically gained that of a lot of new powerful musics straight from the Underworld music mines. It isn't just Underworlders, but also Overworlders, Mepedians, and Damien musics too. And outside of making connections in that of Param, he's also making connections in that of Chaotic as well. Like I said, he's close with that of Tom, Kaz, Peyton, and Sarah, but not too close. That all changed when he fought against another chaotic player for that up to the spot to fight against Codemaster Inthor in the Inthor drone. As the person he was going against is that of a fellow Japanese player, with Izuku looking at her as he couldn't help but basically blush at her and given on how beautiful she looks. Given that she has that of, straight, long, periwinkle blue hair, a monocle over that of her left eye, and wearing that of a, school uniform beret, as it looks like it has that of a S on it. However, the clothes she's wearing is that of a long white, white dress with that of a red jacket over it, and brown boots. Within, she's saying, pleasure to meet you, Izumite. My name is Psycho Intele, but you may know my screen name by With Izuku stuttering out saying, you're Queen Bee. Yeah, I'm aware. Within noticing his stutter saying, oh my, so the rumors are true. You really can't talk to women, can't you? Within hearing that, making his face go even more nuclear red saying, you heard about that? Within, she's saying, I do research on my opponents ahead of time after all. And you're no exception. I hear that you're basically a mixed player, but not afraid to play with that of other tribes as well, if you need be. Within, Izuku saying, wow, you really have done your research. It's almost to the level of a, within, she's saying, genius? I know. Within Izuku blushing saying, well, that, but I was also going to say stalkerish. Within, she hearing that, she couldn't help but feel applaud, saying, oh, well, I never. You know, just for that, I'm going to enjoy putting a boy like you in your place. Within, both of them put their scanners in that of the deck slot. Within them begin to choose their creatures. With Izuku going with that of his iconic mixed deck, using Navena and Avena after all. Within realizing, now that I mention it, I did look over that of her past battles. Her matches always start with that of her iconic card, Majorin. Majorin cards are pretty rare after all, so of course, I need to go with that of what I'm used to. She'll probably go with that of creatures, with that can use that of lots of magicians. Probably use a lot of music that can basically either stun me or deal a lot of damage, possibly even ones with healing too. But given my strategies, I think I got this. And the locations I choose too, I know I have this. Within saying, players, lock your decks. Within each of them locking their decks. Within soon noticing that of her frontline units, back unit, and her backline unit. Within realizing, what the? They're all musicians. They're all basically musicians. Not a single one is a frontline fighter. What kind of strategy does she do with this? Within, Psycho, looking not even phased, saying, well, your move. As the match between the two was about to begin. And let's just say it was basically surprisingly one of Izuku's toughest matches within Chaotic. Her entire strategy revolved around using creatures with high wisdom stats. Power, courage, and speed mean nothing. It's those with that of high wisdom that she relied on the most. Hell, she even used Bodil, one of the weakest creatures in Chaotic, and yet she was able to take down his Marquis Dorini with that while using secret passages in Kiru City. Luckily, Izuku was able to bring her down to that of her last creature, that being her trump card, Majorin. However, Izuku is down to that of his last creature too, Avena, and the location is Kopan's Tower. Within, Izuku realized, I think I might got the upper hand on this. Within, both of them are in that of their chaotic forms, with Psycho taking the form of Majorin, basically a blue-skinned creature wearing all blue robes, a magic hat, and also a beard that goes all the way down to that of his stomach. With Izuku becoming Avena, having red skin, blue hair, and whitish blue armor. Within, Izuku saying, let's get chaotic. With the match taking place in that of Underworld City's Kapu Tower, as the match started off quite interesting, with trying to use that of the lay of the area to overwhelm that of, well, Psycho. However, little did Izuku know, Majorin has actually been to Kapun's tower as well. So just like that of her other strategies, she uses Majorin's memories to overwhelm that of Izuku as Avena. However, little did she know, Izuku has been to Kapun's temple way more times than that of Majorin actually. So he knows about that of the secret, about the multiple magicians basically hidden around that of the tower in case Kapun's being attacked or he needs extra magicians to cast music when he's studying them to understand them properly. While dodging multiple attacks from that of Majorin, Izuku arrived in that of the secret chamber where the magician was, and was able to finally use his music on her after all. With Izuku screaming in that of Avena's voice saying, "Song of Geonova!" As the melody begins to play, within the powerful blast was about to come down onto Psycho. Within, she realized, "Oh crap, oh no, I'm out of music to counter this, I can't!" Before then being hit by that of the blast, bring her down to the ground. Before then, Izuku brings out that of his battle gear, double edge, within sending that of a lava launch from the sword down to that of Majorin, with her eyes wide open in shock before being consumed and then turned to code. Within, the beta drone announcer saying the winner is Izumite, with Izuku pumping his fist up saying, "I did it! Alright!" Within, soon realizing, and now I can face against Codemaster Inthor. Within, Psycho and basically looks at that of Izuku with that of a look of somewhat annoyance, before sighing saying, "Good match, Izumite." Within saying, "You too, Queen Bee." Intele, within, Izuku saying, "Huh? Psycho Intele, that is my true name." Within, Izuku realizing, "Wait, you want me to call you by your name here in Chaotic?" Within, she's saying, "Yes, actually. I must have to ask, how did you know about that extra magician? Even I didn't know about it. And I was using Majorin, who has been to that of Kapoon's temple more times than I can count." Within, Izuku saying, "So have I. I actually help him out with that of his studies and understanding musics." Within, she's saying, "Wait, you're joking?" With Izuku saying, "Nope, I'm not." With her being quite intrigued, saying, "I see. Please, tell me more about this. I want to improve that of my battle style, and having creatures with more high wisdom stats is mainly my main strategy and style after all." Within, Izuku saying, "Well, I'll try. I don't know if Mr. Kapoon will help you after all." Within, she's saying, "Oh, trust me, I can be quite convincing if you're helping." If you say so." And little did Izuku know that he would end up gaining that of a good friend here in Chaotic. Actually, one of his closest friends in Chaotic. The two would end up spending a lot of time together, studying over strategies, tactics, even going to Param as well, and doing scan quest. Because of this, Izuku gained a lot more, knowledge and even more powerful creatures as well. Hell, he even gained a Maxor card when he heard about that at the music conference between that of High Muges and also that of the leaders as well, given that there is no fighting between that when it comes to that of music conferences. However, he did end up meeting another creature among the Damians. He didn't know much about her. All he knew is that she was one of the first female Damian he actually met. But it wasn't Queen Alexia, the actual queen of the Damians. As for his time with Psycho, he also introduced her to that of, Headmaster Apax as well, when she explained that she plans on becoming that of a hero and plans on going to Seiyai Academy actually, with Izuku having 1 year left at Aldera and also plan on going to a hero school, but to UA. Within realizing that the two won't be going to the same hero school, they still say that they have Chaotic to spend time together as friends after all and hang out with each other. However, their time as, Chaotic friends would basically come in jeopardy when the Merillians begin to invade. Just like that in Chaotic Season 2, the Merillian invasion basically takes over Param, causes floods all across that of the Underworld, with the Riverlands being poisoned over the Overworld, the Mepedian Oasis nearly being destroyed by the Merillians, and the same thing also goes with that of Mount Pillar where the Damians are located at. However, what would Izuku be doing during this time? Well, when during the final stand, where normally Tom and the others would basically try their best to help out, Izuku did stayed around too to see what he could do to help out as well. Psycho basically called him crazy because he's no hero, but yet he's acting like one, which is exactly what she's trying to become too. So because of this, she also stayed in Param as well, especially during the lockdown after all. However, in between while the Alliance was trying to, have their final stand against the Merillians, Izuku alongside Psycho, with the help of Florin as well, gathered that of stragglers and remnants of other creatures by bringing in that of, either Mujiks, battle gear, anything for the final stand. With even Izuku alongside Psycho found out about that of the plan to take the Merillian leader, Ani, to that of Lake Verkeer to weaken him. However, it only works with that of normal Merillians. Given that Ani is the leader of the Merillians, Lake Verkeer increases his power actually. The reason on how they found out is mainly because Psycho ended up basically scanning that of a Merillian named Maktis a few months back before the final battle, wanting to give at least somewhat of advantages to players who are struggling with Merillians after all, during that of a beta drone practice match with Izuku. But then finding out about that, it was too late though, with Kaor, Maxor, and Aparu already at Lake Vakir with Ani, and already looks like that the three creatures may be overwhelmed. But luckily, thanks to Aparu being there, being the shape-shifting creature that he is, to becoming other creatures after all, and even humans, they were able to defeat the Merillian leader, causing the Merillians to retreat back to the doors of the deep mine, allowing Param to be free once again for creatures and chaotic players alike, with Tom and the others alongside Izuku and Psycho coming back to Chaotic to explain things to that of the Codemasters and all the other players, with Tom saying, "So you guys are the ones that brought all the other creatures to Kiru City?" Within Izuku saying, "Well, we had help from that of Crown Prince Elfer as well. Without him and Takinam, I don't think the other creatures would have listened." With Cass saying, "Still, without those guys showing up in that final push, I think the Alliance and all of Peril might have been done for. Heck, we would have been done for if it weren't for you guys." Within Izuku saying, "But Kaz, didn't you bring back that of, flashbangs needed to basically overcome the mind control?" Within Kaz saying, "Well, yeah, I guess that makes me a hero too. And I'm not even a hero student back home." Within Tom saying, "You could have put the effort into it if you actually wanted to, outside of Chaotic." Within Cass saying, "Oh, hush, I don't want to hear it from you, Mr. Hero Student." Within Izuku saying, "Wait, Tom, you're in the hero course at your home in America?" Within Tom saying, "Huh? Oh, yeah, guess I never mentioned it. Never really brought up the fact. Finishing up my 3rd year in that of my hero course class. I guess I never told you and Psycho after all, didn't I?" Within Izuku shaking his head alongside Intele, saying, "Well, it's good to know that I'll be meeting with that of a fellow hero student here in Chaotic." Within Tom saying, "Likewise." Before then, Psycho looking at Izuku saying, "Same thing goes for you, Izuku. With everything that you've done here, you're basically a shoo-in to become a hero student once you take that at the UA entrance exam." Within hearing that, Peyton saying, Whoa, you're going to UA?" Within Sarah saying, "I'm not even into pro heroes that much, and even I've heard of UA after all." As Izuku gets a little bit embarrassed saying, "Well, it's one of the closest schools, and plus it's the school that my idol All Might went to. Add that with my quirk to become creatures outside of Chaotic, which is still crazy even now, I feel like I have a chance. And even with everything I've done here in Param, doesn't matter. I'm still going to try and be the hero that I've always wanted to be. The hero that can always smile in the face of danger to reassure everyone they'll be alright." Within hearing that, everybody can say, "Hear to that." as they all basically high five with the Merillians being done and Izuku preparing to get ready for the UA entrance exam next year for him. And that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please tell me what you guys think in the comments below. Love to read them. So, how did you guys like this part? Honestly, I split through that of the events that Izuku went through during that of Chaotic After All, like during the later half of Season 1 and the entirety of Season 2 After All, with Izuku playing small parts here and there to help out during the Merillian invasion after all, given that he's close with several creatures in peril. Not to mention his new friendship and relationship with Psycho. And if you guys remember that of last month, I said I plan on doing a long distance relationship with one of the what ifs I planned on, and this was it. Psycho is basically going to be the main chip for this after all. A long distance relationship in the real world, while being that of a somewhat close relationship within Chaotic. So yeah, at any rate, if you guys like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell notification to get to date my videos uploaded to the channel. Also, please check out my Discord, gaming channel, side channel, other channel, Patreon, and Cash App. All link in the description below. So, with all that said, this is Leon Mookie, signing out. Later guys, hope you all take care. Do your thing, my Shiro.
Hi everyone, this is White Fox. If you liked Leon's video, click the video on the left to see the most recent one. And if you want to see more of this, click the subscribe button and notification bell. And check out his playlists. If you still haven't subscribed, do so in the center. With that said, I hope to see you again on my love's channel. Bye!